I'll tell you, it would be a complete disaster, and I challenge any of you watching, walk me through it. Some new football rule changes have been proposed, and as usual, this gets people really upset.
I'm not very fond of the lawmakers, and this is another reason.
So the laws in question would be scrapping rebounds on penalties and also broadening the scope of VAR so that they can intervene on second yellows that lead to reds and incorrect decisions for goal kicks and corner kicks. So what we're going to do is actually break down each of these laws objectively. Then we're going to go into the pros and cons of making these changes. So welcome to Campfire Football. I'm Sebastian North. Let's break down the 3 new IFAB rule proposal changes. All right, so first of all, what's on the table objectively? Let's just get the facts straight. Let's start out with the scrapping of rebounds on penalties. This would eliminate that, making it just one shot, meaning if the ball goes in, it's a goal. If it doesn't, no matter what happens, it's a goal kick. Of course, unless the goalkeeper leaves their line too early making the save. So the next 2 have to do with broadening the scope of VAR and when they can intervene. So right now, VAR can only get involved on straight red cards. If there's an incorrect yellow that leads to a sending off, they can't touch it. This change would make it so that they can, and so that if a yellow card is incorrectly awarded to a player and they're sent off, VAR would be able to look at it and change the referee's decision. The other is that VAR will be able to intervene if the referee incorrectly gives a corner kick or a goal kick to a team, because these can be pretty big moments. Now let's actually break down the validity, the pros and cons of each one, and really how people reacted to these. So let's go ahead and start with the one that got people most riled up, and that was scrapping rebounds on penalties.
What on earth is the benefit of that?
There's no benefit. I just think it's people that don't understand the game, what the excitement that brings when somebody misses and everybody rushes in, or then all of a sudden there's maybe another block tackle, or...
What the hell did you just say?
So Charlie Adams seems to think that we all come here to watch this game to see players just crashing in the box, chaos, second tackles, all of that. That's not what gets me going with a football match. The other thing he says is that there is no reason to make this change, but also that the people in charge don't know football. Hey Charlie, you ever heard of this guy? His name is Pierluigi Collina. The name may be a little bit foreign to you. He is the most iconic, famous referee ever. Officiated for 17 years, has over 400 Serie A appearances, and basically has covered every major match that you could imagine. He's also brought in for all of the testimonials that ex-players have had in the last 20 years. So to say that guy doesn't know football,
I mean, I just find it absolutely ludicrous.
Then there are other people who just assume that there is no explanation for any of this whatsoever.
Is there any text behind why they think it's a good thing to do?
No.
No? So they provided no information? Is that what you're saying? So let's actually hear from the horse's mouth, Pierluigi Collina, who is the one who actually recommended this to IFAB. He said, on average, 75% of penalties are already scored, and often the penalty kick is a bigger chance than the one taken away by the foul. On top of that, the attacker is also given a chance to play the rebound off the goalkeeper. In my opinion, goalkeepers should be complaining. One solution is the one-shot rule, just like in penalty shootouts after extra time. No rebound, either you score and play resumes with the goal kick, period. This would also eliminate the spectacle we see before a penalty is taken, with everyone crowding around the area. Looks like horses at the starting gates before the Palio di Siena. That is hilarious. I've actually never thought of that comparison before. It's a fantastic image. And he's right. Goalkeepers should be complaining about this. I mean, think about it this way. Just recently, in the Women's Euros, England got a penalty in the 119th minute. Chloe Kelly steps up, does her interesting run-up, and the penalty is saved. But because she's the closest to it, she runs up, taps it home, and gives this calm celebration like that was her plan the whole time, which... that's another ridiculous thing. Players celebrating after putting in the rebound on a penalty, I mean, they should just be embarrassed and sheepish instead. So these are really good points, actually, for why this should happen. Now, let's actually go over the reasons why this is a bad idea, maybe. And to be honest, these are the flimsiest arguments you can think of. Their biggest point all has to do with an appeal to nostalgia and sentimentality.
Yeah, it just sanitizes it. I mean, you know, we have Troy Deeney with us in the studio every Friday.
I was just about to talk about it. That's one of Troy Deeney's biggest moments.
Yeah, that's why he's famous, after a missed penalty.
Now, don't get me wrong, that's an iconic goal, but this explanation that we'll never see that again, and so that's why we have to keep it, doesn't make any sense.
Troy Deeney is something that you can remember because it's happened so infrequently. So the fact that has happened once doesn't necessarily mean it should be preserved and set in stone.
He's right. It's so rare of a thing that we don't need to keep it. And actually, this entire argument is so trash, I'm just going to dismantle it for you right now. So here are a couple examples. First of all, the English might remember a very famous, iconic goal. So in these days, you could just lob the ball back to your goalkeeper like Steve Hodge did, and your keeper can just jump up and catch it like Peter Shilton was planning to do, only for a 5'7" Argentine jumping up and punching the ball in the net. Now, if we're gonna appeal to sentimentality, we could say, oh my God, one of the most iconic goals ever scored. It wouldn't have happened if the back pass law was in place, and that would just be sad. The English will never make this argument, so let's find one they actually did make. And this is after the back pass rule is initiated. You know, it's really sad that we won't see a repeat of Lee Dixon's crazy own goal against Coventry City, where he tried to chip the ball back to David Seaman, overshot it, and scored on his own team. Yeah, that's a howler. But if you don't think that would ever happen again, just ask Axel Disasi. Yeah, remember that goal for Leicester last year? If you really want to talk about the biggest loser, I'll tell you. It's the D. That is there for one reason alone, and that is to keep players who are on the edge of the box 10 yards away from the ball when a penalty is taken. If you can't rebound and you're not going to stand at the edge of the area, well, what's the point of even having the half moon? And think about just how iconic a football pitch looks. You remove those half moons and, you know, aesthetically it just hurts. So I don't know, just spare a thought for the D, that's all I'm saying. Now, what's really hilarious is when they bring this up to someone that they are sure will agree with them, and it does not happen.
No more penalty rebounds allowed.
That'll do me. I'm happy with that.
Are you?
Yeah, I am. Why not? You've got one go at it.
Right, so you think it's an unfair advantage if you have two goals?
If the goalie saves it, great, well done.
Now, I don't think anyone expected Triceratops of football Neil Warnock to actually agree with this rule, and Sam Matterface is shocked that the dinosaur in the room didn't agree with him. But Neil Warnock's right. It just gets on with things a little quicker, and really, that is the point that I want to make here, is that any rule change that just slightly tweaks the game and makes it move quicker is a good thing. Anything that adds delays, not good. And that brings us on to our next two laws. So both of these have to do with basically just increasing the power that VAR has.
They may well be able to intervene and recommend decisions overturning second yellow cards in what they might deem as unfair dismissals. I don't mind that one. That makes more sense to me.
As you're talking, I'm thinking, well, yeah, if it's unfair.
And also corners. If a corner is given when it shouldn't be a corner, again, they can intervene with that. Again, that makes sense.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Now, we've all seen this before, where a defender maybe goes in for a sliding challenge, the attacker flies to the floor, holds their shin, the referee comes up, yellow card, second yellow, red, you're off. And then you take a look at a replay and you see that is not what happened. Now, if VAR could take a look at it, they could say, hey, yeah, no, you got to change this. The yellow card should actually go to the attacker for simulation, and you can keep the other guy on the field. Sounds good, right? Same with the corners. I mean, you've seen it plenty of times where it's so obvious after one replay, a corner was awarded when it should have been a goal kick, and then the team that got the corner scores. I mean, you'd be pissed, right? Okay, so those are the positives of doing it. But let's think a little bit about the drawbacks. For one, it'll cause more delays during matches, which doesn't help the game in any way. A source from UEFA described VAR's growing influence as hard to tolerate and claim it would harm the flow and rhythm of the game. VAR is already used for goals, red cards, penalties, and other major incidents, but some argue that VAR should be given more responsibility. They want it to be used to correct clear-cut errors, but UEFA are firmly against more VAR interventions.
I feel like I'm in an upside-down world.
And look, I think UEFA are absolutely right, because though you may think, oh, we can just look at these clear-cut decisions and get them right, we all know how much debate there is about pretty much every decision, especially in the VAR era. Now, as for the corner kicks and goal kicks, it's kind of like, where does this stop? This is a slippery slope. Consider this. Let's say there's a team that does really well from long throw-ins, and they happen to capitalize and score on them a lot. If you were the defensive team and you should be getting a throw-in in your end, but it's given to the attacking team and they score, oh, well, now we're going to have to review whether throw-ins should be actually looked at every time. I understand that there's situations where a corner kick or goal kick, you take one look at the replay and you know. So this would not run into the problem of being as subjective as the yellow cards. But the question is, where does this stop? How far back do you actually re-referee the game to make sure you get every little tiny call correct, because you don't want it to end up with a team getting an unfair advantage? Frankly, I think there's a time you have to just stop and say the referee's decision on the field is that. So that's a breakdown of the 3 laws and essentially what I think about them. But what I also find interesting is the reactions people have. Why is it that there are certain law changes people cannot stomach and others they welcome in, which might actually be more problematic? I mean, there is history of this. I mentioned when the back pass rule was initially brought in, there were tons of people against it, and it very quickly made the game a lot better. Another example would be goal line technology. People were like, we don't want technology involved in football. Well, that was until Frank Lampard's goal against Germany in the 2010 World Cup was, not awarded when it clearly crossed the line. The English got really upset, said, we have this technology going at Wimbledon, let's apply it to football. That was unfair, let's clear it up. There were some detractors, but in the end, goal line technology has been a smashing success because it takes no time whatsoever, and it's got like a 99.9% correct rate. Look, people fear change. That's understandable.
I'm so against new regulations. I've always loved the game for what it is, and I know football has to evolve, but what I don't get is how you can continually change the game to get to a stage where it's going to be unrecognisable.
The thing is, most tweaks to the game have actually made it better. But there are people who think that certain rule changes should happen or are coming that would be a complete disaster, and they can't even really explain why.
And this is only my gut feeling. I think throw-ins will go very soon. And
So
I just
what would
think,
they do instead
well,
of
they'll
a
kick
cup?
it on. They'll do what the kids'
But
football
you can
do.
still
They'll
kick it
get-
high, no?
No, but there won't be the.
I mean, that is hilarious. Tony Cascarino can't even explain how getting rid of throw-ins would work. I'll tell you, it wouldn't. It would be a complete disaster, and I challenge any of you watching, walk me through it. If we were to get rid of throw-ins, what would happen to the game? In my opinion, it would change so much, so insanely, you'd have to add a whole bunch new rules to make it work, and there's a reason IFAB will not actually touch this, no matter how many times Wenger wants to bring it up. Now, if it comes to safety, look, I think those are the people who are most dangerous in terms of ruining the game. The ones who do not actually care about the spectacle, but just want everyone to always be safe and never get hurt. Those are the folks you should be most worried about. So that's the breakdown of these rules. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for stopping by. This is Campfire Football. I'm Sebastian North. Take it easy.